Hello and welcome to our Facebook Live today. I'm Diane Ray, one of the co-founders of MindBodySpirit.fm, and we've been sharing these Facebook Lives, over the past few months to introduce you to our incredible podcasters that we have on the MindBodySpirit.fm network. And my co-founder, Tina Williamson, and I are really excited to introduce you to our podcasters today because these ladies have done some incredible work and they just keep going with some great episodes. And we want you to go back and check out their past episodes as well. So I want to welcome Helen Sneed and Valerie Milburn, and they're the host of Mental Health, Hope, and Recovery. And this was one of the first podcasts actually that we launched when we got MindBodySpirit.fm going. So it's been really exciting to see their show grow and morph and get new listeners because their stories are just so incredible. So Helen and Valerie have both fought and overcome severe chronic mental illnesses. And in this show, they really offer an insider's approach to mental health. So they share inspirational stories and a host of recovery skills, and they kind of cover everything. I mean, depression, anxiety, substance abuse use, eating disorders, self-harm, and other major illnesses. And you'll learn about treatment options and coping skills and really find out from their point of view. Now, they're not professionals, they're not doctors, but they're your peers. Mm-hmm. So they're really sharing these stories from a really personal point of view. They also have great guests that offer qualified counseling and other mental health resources. And they're both really passionate about this topic. So it's been exciting to hear them share their stories and to watch the show grow. So Helen and Valerie, welcome to the Facebook Live.
Thanks, Diane.
Thank you.
For having
us.
All of our listeners. It's great to be here and to talk with you because Tina and I are both so very proud of your show, and we've been so excited to watch it grow. And we both think that the information that you're sharing is so important. And your stories are real. They're real success stories from real people. And what's great that I want you to share with the listeners is how you guys launched the show, because both of you were podcasting newbies, and now you're professionals going on your 5th year of podcasting, and you've actually won some awards. You've won some Signal Awards. So the show has just really grown from humble beginnings to where you are now. You're 54 episodes in. So who would have thought that back in the beginning when you first started? So I wanted you to tell everybody a little bit about how you met and what prompted you to start the show. So Helen, did you want to start?
Well, yes. Valerie and I met during a training session for the National Alliance on Mental Illness. And we just sort of hit it off, struck up a friendship because she was so impressive, and I really liked her right off the bat because she's a great person. So that's where it all began.
We started teaching classes together, and we found out how great we were as coworkers, and that was a connection. But then we started presenting together for a program called In Our Own Voice for NAMI, and we heard our stories told through each other. And that was a really deep level of connection. And then we began to support each other in our recovery, and our friendship just deepened.
And who was the first one that said, I think we should do a podcast?
Well, actually, the first person was Tina Williamson, your partner. And we're old friends, and she contacted me and said, would you do one on mental health? And I thought, well, yes, if I can do it with Valerie Milburn, I would love to, because I knew we would make a great team.
Well, I think it's so amazing that you guys got together and you're presenting this podcast, because it shows that everyday people have a voice, and the stories they share can be really impactful. And you say on the podcast that you're not professionals, that you're peers. And why do you feel that it's so important to bring some of these stories out of the shadows and talk about mental illness in a frank and honest way from your point of view of things that you've gone through?
Well, from an insider's perspective, like we say, makes me think of that phrase, it takes one to know one, which we often hear in kind of a derogatory manner, but it's shared experiences, that make that connection. And connection is what makes us feel like we're not alone, lets us know that we're not alone. And we talk a lot about isolation and how isolation can literally kill people with mental illness. So it's that connection and letting us know we're not alone that's important for sharing from your own perspective and just sharing openly and frankly.
And how do you feel about that, Helen?
Well, for me, one of the big shockers in all of this has been that I learned that my long, long, ugly story, which it is, had great value to other people. And I think the second time I told it in public, afterwards, a woman in the audience came up to me and she was crying. And I said, "Oh gosh, can I help you?" And she said, "You already have. You've given me more hope than I have felt in years." So this for me was just galvanizing, and I think that it's just great that that Valerie and I are able to work together for a number of reasons, mainly because we're in the same boat. But we want people to know, again, we live in recovery, so can you. And what we try to do is just give people, the validation, inspiration, practical skills, hope, all these things that we know because we've been there and we know how vital these things can be.
It's so valuable what you're sharing. And I think everybody that hears this will relate because so many people I know are dealing with depression, some kind of mental illness, anxiety. I believe I sure it's touched everybody, if not someone directly in their family, someone they know. I know it's definitely touched me and my family. You've both faced some incredible challenges yourself, and many of your topics are from a personal perspective, like when you face setbacks in your recovery or the effect of mental health on your family. Like I said, it's definitely touched my family. You recently did an incredible series on the family dynamics of psychiatric crises. So many people don't know what to do when someone calls you in crisis, a family member or a close friend that's going through something. Can you talk about the importance of sharing this information so that families and people don't feel so alone when they're dealing with a crisis situation?
Yeah, I think Valerie is really set up to answer this one.
Well, that 5-part series on the dynamics of a psychiatric crisis in a family started out with episode number 1 featuring my husband and my sister. And the two of them shared so many things of value to family members who are supporting a loved one in a psychiatric crisis. But I can give you an example of just one thing my husband shared. He talked about an incredibly hard decision he made to not let me come home, a decision he made during my 7th psychiatric hospitalization after my suicide attempt. I mean, can you imagine how hard that must have been for him to say his wife and the mother of his children couldn't come home? But as he talked about that decision, he talked about how he had made that decision with my psychiatrist. He talked about how he handled that situation with our young children who were about 6 and 8 years old when that happened. And he talked about how he had to hang on to his belief in me. He said that he knew I was going to be able to fight my way through it. And the way he said that was he believed that I'm a tough Texas girl. And I think the fact that he shared those things just offered practical skills for people who were going through that, but mainly he offered hope for other family members who were in that situation or who may eventually go through that situation with their loved one.
It's so brave that he was able to share that. And I
Mm-hmm.
relate exactly to what you're saying because I have been in that situation where I had to make that call for a family member and they were, begging me, why are you doing this? And, the guilt that you feel,
Right.
but knowing that you're doing the right thing and having the doctor say, no, he's where he should be.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I understand that.
Right.
And it's a difficult place for people to be. But hearing from you, Valerie and Helen, and hearing from your personal stories definitely helps people
Hmm.
feel that they're not so alone.
Absolutely.
And have you gotten some great feedback from listeners, Valerie, as well? I know Helen shared a listener story.
We have. On that episode in particular, the feedback I got was not only from listeners, but from my family. We got feedback, extended family, nephews, nieces, cousins who said this has helped heal our family on a huge, huge magnitude. Um, one feedback recently we got feedback from a listener on an episode we did called What to Do When a Loved One Won't Seek Treatment. And our listener said that if he had had this information 10 years ago, it would have changed the trajectory of his life with his wife who has struggled with mental illness. But he said at this point, getting it was definitely going to change the future trajectory of her recovery and his recovery with her.
That must be so gratifying to hear, isn't it? To know that some random person, and podcasts are global. I mean, people all over the world can listen, if they speak English, of course. And
Well, we're not sure about
They
that.
do. Our worldwide audience is doubling. It has doubled in the last
yeah,
few years, and we have listeners from Morocco to Madagascar and Nairobi to Nice. I mean, they're everywhere.
isn't that incredible? Just knowing that you can reach out and touch people around the world, and it makes us realize that we're not so different after all. That so many of us are struggling with the same things and are feeling these same feelings and dealing with these issues. So these stories and what you're sharing is so important. And one of the things that you do on the podcast that I think is great is you share helpful tips and takeaways for people to incorporate, into their own mental health recovery process. So I wanted to find out maybe if each of you could share a favorite coping skill or a tip that you like to use if you're, feeling anxious.
Well, could I just do a couple real fast because I found it impossible to narrow it down to just one or two.
Sure.
I'm Southern, but I can talk fast. Okay, so my favorite tips. The first one is people, relationships, find your people. It can just be one friend, that's all you need. And the great author E.M. Forster said, connect, only connect. That's it in 3 words. Then there is number 2, dialectical behavior therapy. Don't even go there, just call it DBT. And this teaches you dozens and dozens of skills to overcome these tidal waves of hideous, uncontrollable emotions and thoughts, which had just driven me all my life. And what happens is DBT allows you to be able to do things by yourself on your own. You can take care of yourself with these skills. So it was nothing short of an Old Testament miracle for me. Then there is goal setting, which I didn't know anything about it. And just in essence, big goals must be done in small, manageable steps, which, just I never knew that. And finally, my mantra, action begets action. The more you do, the more you do. I had been completely paralyzed. I was not functioning. And it took a lot of time and effort to start acting again. But it was the real turning point for me. And so, again, action begets action.
Those are great.
Those are great.
And Valerie, what's worked for you that you could share?
Well, I have 2. One is mindfulness. Being mindful is what keeps me on the beam. And we end every episode with a mindfulness exercise. For me, right here, right now, any single moment I can handle. And for me, I need to stay out of the future. I need to always know that being right here, right now, keeps me out of what I call my magic magnifying mind. And if I stay present, I am okay. The other one for me is self-care. And I'll just pick one thing on self-care that is what keeps me healthy, and that is sleep. Not too much and not too little. For me, it's 8 hours, and it's the same 8 hours. And people with bipolar disorder, I live in recovery with bipolar disorder. We have trouble regulating our circadian rhythms, which is our body clock. And so to sleep the same 8 hours of sleep every night is my goal. And I achieve it about 90% of the time. And it keeps me feeling so much better and healthier and able to handle the stress of everyday life.
That's so important. Sleep. That's so true.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, some of us think it's a badge of pride to work on 3 or 4 hours of sleep or something like that. Oh, I don't need sleep, but I'm
Mhm.
with you. I need my 8 hours, and I'll throw in a pedicure in that self care too.
Oh,
I try
yes.
to I try to treat myself to a little bit of that, and wow, a massage, that would be even
Yeah,
better.
yeah.
But those are all great, great self-care tips. And being present too, and mindfulness is such an important, piece of not worrying and having anxiety about the future that you can't control. And so many of us are looking around and seeing what's happening around us every day and in the news, and we feel that we're out of control. And that can lead to some really scary feelings. So those are really amazing tips. And it seems like now, which I'm very thankful for, that the conversation around mental health is changing, and more people are open about talking about things like depression or eating disorders. And even the mental health category in podcasting is really growing. So there's a lot of information and support out there. So things look hopeful. I mean, are you hopeful for the future of mental health care right now? I mean, I know there's a lot of work to be done, but do you see some glimmers of hope?
Oh, okay. I've been in the system for 44 years. Now, don't freak out over how long it took me to recover because everything was primitive and ghastly when I first got sick in 1981. And I know y'all weren't born yet. Okay. But today, I'm very hopeful for a number of reasons. Medicine and science are catching up. The medications are far more sophisticated. And I think the most important thing is the doctors are just plain smarter. In these 44 years, a huge, vast field of knowledge has been developed, and doctors and therapists can dip into that and help their patients. And so this makes me very optimistic. Then one other thing is that there are thrilling, groundbreaking advances in understanding and treating mental illness. You'll have to go to our podcast because we touch on them almost every episode. It's happening so fast. And one other thing is that I scoffed at that literally saved my life and allowed me the rich and full life I have today. The brain can heal itself. They've proven it. You can any age generate new brain cells and new synapses that can take you toward a more positive way of regarding the world and yourself.
Yes, that's so hopeful, isn't it? I thought I had
Mm-hmm.
toasted a lot of brain cells over the years. And the fact there's neuroplasticity, right? And
Mhm.
things can be malleable, and you can get better and you can heal. So that's so hopeful. And what do you think, Valerie? Are things heading in the right direction?
They absolutely are. What brain science is discovering daily is just phenomenal. The research that is happening, the research that has happened and is proven to the point where it is now being implemented in treatment is, to be kind of funny here, is mind blowing. I mean, what's happening with even the research into um, what Helen is saying, the brain can heal itself, what can be done to actually change what's happening in the brain, what can be done to have medications change what's happening in the brain, the treatments that can turn around what has been called treatment resistant depression. We're actually doing an episode on how that is not a valid term anymore because there basically is nothing that is treatment resistant anymore with the changes in the new treatments and the new medications. So, yes, I'm very hopeful for what is happening in the treatment of mental illness.
Well, things are looking up. I'm very hopeful. And I know you have some incredible episodes coming up. You've had great guests in the past. You do some series, and I thought maybe you could give us a little taste of what might be coming up or what you're working on in some future shows.
What we're working on right now is an
Yeah.
episode on happiness.
Oh, okay. That sounds great.
Hmm.
And any
Yeah,
great guests?
we don't know yet who are going to. This is in the works right now, and it is fascinating because happiness is like this legitimate field of study and is key to mental health and whatever. So we're just fascinated by it. There are a couple of others. I also want to encourage people to go listen to some episodes we've already done. And I'm focusing on ones
Yes.
with guests. We did one on PTSD that's two-part because the subject is vast and it's fabulous. There's one on eating disorders. It's one woman's story of how she overcame anorexia. It's one of our most popular episodes. We did setbacks. That's just been recorded and posted, about what you do when you're going along, you're getting a little better, and then all of a sudden you have a major setback. And we have this terrific articulate guest. And finally, hospitalization. We just decided that everybody should know what it's like to be in a mental hospital. So we got just a few of us together, and we just sat around and talked about it. And it's one of our most, it's fun, but it's also really, really informative.
Well, those are great suggestions. I'm going to have to go back and catch up on some of the episodes that I might have missed. And I urge everybody to go back, check out episodes that they haven't heard before. There's so much rich information there. You can go to our website, mindbodyspirit.fm, and also make sure that you're following the show on your favorite podcast app, Apple, Spotify, Pandora, wherever you get your podcasts. You can follow Helen and Valerie and make sure that you never miss an episode. And we're so happy to host you on mindbodyspirit.fm. And we're looking forward to hearing what else you ladies have got coming up, because I think it's so valuable. And we're so thrilled to share the podcast. So thank you for chatting with me today, and for our listeners out there in Facebook land. And thank you so much.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, this is a great opportunity. Thank you.